And hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Hello everyone. I did not hit record. Give me just half a second here. Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. So, today is, I want to say Christmas Eve, but that's wrong. It's New Year's Eve. It is the last day of December. It's the last day of 2025. And so, yeah, tomorrow is 2026. And it's absolutely crazy. It's insane. Time has flown by this year. Streaming with you guys. I mean, we've been doing this for about a year, and my affiliate anniversary is next week. I am so excited about that. The 8th day of Christmas Eve. Yeah, right? Definitely the 8th day of Christmas Eve. So I have several things that I want to talk to you guys about as far as housekeeping sorts of things. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to start up the forge so that we can start getting our steel heated. So today we are going to be continuing to work on our trivet. We have our 3 sides completed. And so now we are going to be starting to work on the little feet that I have in store for it. And then we're also going to be punching in some rivet holes so we can rivet the whole thing together. So I'm pretty excited about it. It should be a pretty fun project. There we go. Let's get that started. All right, so today's propane, or I guess this week's propane, is sponsored by Mahalo. Thank you so much, Mahalo, for sponsoring our propane this week. And if you would like to sponsor propane for a week, you can donate to my KoFi, $25. The link is on the channel page, in my bio, or at the end of this short. So thank you guys so much, and thank you, Mahalo, for donating this propane tank this week. Also on this board, I have a picture kind of the design of the trivet that we're going to do. So we've got these little legs that are going to get riveted in between our 3 sides. And they're kind of going to fold out and back. And hopefully it's tight enough that it will stand up on its own and not fall over. So this is kind of going to be like a folded knife kind of shape, theoretically. It depends on my fit and polish, It might work, it might not. We'll see. So yeah. That's our first set of things for our housekeeping. Hey Lexi, welcome to the stream. Good day. Happy New Year. It's already 2026 for you, isn't it, Lexi? All the way in Australia? Yeah, morning of the 1st here already. That's exciting. How is it from 2026? Is it better than 2025? So yeah, we do have an ad starting in a few moments, so I will probably save the rest of our housekeeping for after the ad. I have a few very important announcements to make that are in regards to the next couple of weeks, I guess, maybe months. But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm super excited to be here, spending the last day of this year here. And I am planning on being here on, the first and last days of many more years. So, you've got all that to look forward to. Or I've got all that to look forward to, both, I guess. So, yeah. It is a lot less cold than it was on Monday. So on Monday we were like in the teens Fahrenheit. Now we're getting closer to the 30s Fahrenheit. So it's a lot less cold. I've also put on the heater. So I'm hoping that you guys can help me remember that if we decide later on to use the press, I want you guys to help me remember that we'll need to unplug the heater before we start using the press. We cannot use the press and the heater at the same time, or we'll blow the circuit. And that's never good. All right. You know what? It helps when you put the little, there's like a little air hole in here that you have to open up so that the water comes out. So weird. Not something I think about when I grab a water bottle is like, air release, so that, it takes care of the vacuum that's created by the water coming out. So weird. I suppose it's relatively typical, to be quite honest, but, I think it's a little bit weird. Is the back room on the same electric circuit? It is, actually, because this whole shop, both the garage area and the addition, are kind of daisy-chained through. So we've got 4 outlets, one there, one there, one there, and one back here. And each of those outlets has kind of some power, like, I don't know, circuit breakers, I guess, daisy chained to them into different areas. So we have to be really careful about where we plug things in and what we plug in. Our 220 is on a separate, 220 is on a separate circuit, obviously, but I believe most of the rest of our outlets are on the same circuit. We've got a 1,000-watt light over there, so I gotta be a little bit careful. One of these days, I'm gonna change that incandescent to an LED, and then we won't have to worry so much about it. That is what takes up so much of the power in this area. That's why anytime I use like the chop saw, and sometimes when the air compressor kicks on, the lights kind of dim a little bit. It's because that light is using so much circuit, or so much of the power from that circuit. Okay, so we are out of our ad time, so I'm going to get back to our housekeeping. So, as some of you guys know, my affiliate anniversary is next week. And I wanted to do something special for my affiliate anniversary to thank you guys for all of your support and all of your, help and your viewership and companionship. So we are going to be giving away the first of the Ray's Smithy shirts on Friday, the 9th of January. So not next stream, but a week from then. We will be giving away the first of those shirts. I am planning on giving away 2 of those shirts. I think I'm going to try and figure out a way to give one away here on the stream and then another away, or given away over YouTube. I've got to figure out a good way to, have you guys enter. So if I give myself a week and a half to 2 weeks, it should be able to, or I should be able to come up with something good for you guys. I will only be giving away 2 shirts, and the reason for that is because I want to make sure that because they are iron-ons, and I want to make sure that I am able to iron on the applique onto the shirt effectively. So the first one will kind of be a practice run, and then after that, if it goes on the first time, I might give away the third one, maybe, I want to make sure that I have guarantee at least 2 shirts to give away that are nice, clean, and proper shirts. I will also be looking into doing a print-on-demand run of the shirts in case you guys don't win and still want to take one of the shirts home to wear. So I have yet to kind of do my homework and research on that. So I will, within the next couple of months, I'm hoping to be able to put our design on a print on demand. Hey Jack, welcome. Let's see. Okay, so the very last video on Quad State came out today at 10 a.m. for you guys to enjoy. That is the behind the scenes video. It heavily features both me and the butler. So if you guys have ever been interested in what the butler looks like or sounds like, he's there. So yeah. And it also at the very end has a good a tour kind of what the van looks like inside of it. So it's kind of a little bit of what happens lies about what happens, when we go on these trips and how they go. So yes, the butler is in the video. Don't listen to the butler. But yeah, so check that video out if you're interested. I've been talking about this van for quite some time. If you're interested in looking to see how it looks and what it is. It also has a few confessionals about how we're feeling and what we're up to, where our thoughts are at. So yeah. Hey Knots, welcome to the stream. So yeah, let's see. Was there anything else that I was going to talk about? Specifically. I really think that's it. But yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. I know it's only New Year's Eve, but some of you are, in the new year already, and some of us are still waiting. So I am, hey Dr. Optimal, I am doing excellent today. It's a little bit cold, like I said, but much warmer than it was in here on Monday. We are back into the 30s Fahrenheit, so that's pretty good. Still a little chilly. I'm not going to take off my jackets or anything, but 3112. 2045-ish, so still 2025. Yeah. Blacksmith Dan, I am first time in the shop in 10 weeks. Congrats. Welcome back to the shop. It's always amazing to get back out into the shop after a really long break. I mean, even the 2 days last week that I wasn't out here, it still felt like an eternity, and I was so grateful to be out here on Monday. So welcome to your shop, to my shop, and, to the new year. So I'm super excited to be here today. So the plan, like I said earlier, I think, is to get to the point where we can start punching in the holes for this trivet. We've got 3 sides. I've got my trusty drawing here. So we've got 3 sides that are going to be kind of curved, and then little legs that should fold in and out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 holes to drift. This may actually be a little bit more than I can chew, at least in one day. So we'll see what we can do. I might eventually get to the point where I get tired of it and lazy, and I'll just drill them. But, for the moment, I'm going to try and punch them. We're going to see how that goes. And then I also have a piece of 1/2-inch stock, square stock, right here, that we are going to kind of draw down a little bit and make our rivets out of. Originally, I wanted to do the rivets out of the same I guess those are 1/4 inch square and this is 1/2 inch round. So I was originally going to do our rivets out of this 1/2 inch round, but I did not make our sides wide enough. So, you know, I don't really have a good drift. And so we're just going to make a little bit smaller of rivet holes than I had originally anticipated. So we're going to be using this guy as our punch. All right, how's our heat looking? We're starting to get there. We're starting to get there. The heater's starting to heat up a little bit. Not quite as hot, or you know, it's full max heat, but it should warm up the shop pretty good. I'm looking forward to that because I don't like being cold. All right, let's think about doing our first heat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I've got a good view for you guys. And we're going to go there. Let's turn this round bar into flat bar. If I can pull this out of here, that would be nice. There we go. Or not. It is my favorite thing in the whole world to fight my metal. You know? That's not the right tongs. These are. I guess we're going to have to reheat this. I apologize. Oh, wait. We've got another bar in there. We've got another bar in there. We'll pull this one out. Here we go. And we're going to turn this over this direction. Stick it back inside. At least now it won't roll around. I would have been here Monday, but I had no power for 4 days. Just came back last night. Ooh, that's awful, especially when it's cold. I hope it wasn't too cold for you. Have you had to use your propane bathtub lately? I have not. It is sitting underneath of the forge on the floor there. We just cracked open a brand new propane, so we should be okay for today. But not tomorrow, Friday, we should be using it again. Hand hammering 3/4 inch stainless and not having it split on me. That's today's exercise. Ooh, that is an exercise in both patience and skill, you know, because 3/4 inch stock is relatively thick, and it takes a little while, at least for me, to draw it out by hand. And then, you know, when it's stainless, it doesn't hold heat nearly as well, so you don't get as much work time. So I hope it works well for you. I hope you've got some really hot forge. Really hot fire. That's what I meant to say. Let's move this a little. I have a little bit of it always ends up walking a little bit. That's what I get for trying to make sure that my anvil is movable and like mobile. Is that as I'm hammering on it, the vibrations kind of make it walk back and forth. Sometimes it'll twist and sometimes it'll like just start going this direction. It hardly ever moves that direction. I think it's probably because I'm right-handed and all the pressure that I'm putting on the steel, it kind of just moves it this way. So, we'll see. one of these days I will like get myself a really big ol' anvil, and I really want a stationary anvil. This one is a great movable piece for demonstrations and just like being able to move it all over the shop and you know, have something that I don't have to worry about tripping over all the time. I can move it out of the way when I need to, but I would love to have just like a big old stationary one so that I don't have to worry about working with large pieces of steel. It has a mind of its own. Yes, yes, it does. I just noticed my I'm reading out. Is the sound a little bit too high? I'm not using the regular transmitter that I normally use. I usually use the one that is the left channel. Right now we're using the right channel because it's a little bit, has more charge to it. But I think it looks like I'm peaking. Let me move that down just a little bit. I have a tendency to like project my voice. There we go. If it is a little bit too quiet, do let me know and I'll raise the volume again. But I have a tendency to project my voice while I'm speaking in the shop because I can't hear very well with the combination of the headphones and everything that's happening. It's very loud in here. So I have a tendency to just like almost yell, but so I have to calibrate my volume a little bit. And I don't think I have it quite right on the side. I turn myself down a little bit. Like I said, if I'm a little bit too quiet, please let me know and I will turn myself back up again. I just don't want to like peak out on your speakers because it gets a little bit tinny when you don't have any like bass, which would be like things like cell phones and like laptops that don't have like external speakers. I mean, and then it also gets a little irritating when I'm editing because I do have bass. I have a subwoofer on my computer, or like the editing computer. So when I peak, it's all over the place. All right, let's do another heat. So these are the legs, and it shouldn't take nearly as long to kind of flatten these out. But we are going to be doing a little bit of shaping. All right. So I am going to grab one of these guys, which are the sides. We're going to take a look and compare the two. We definitely need to sharpen up these corners, but I think we're about the right width on this direction. It looks pretty similar. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to put in a rounded kind of point, like a knife point almost, on that one. I do have a little bit of finessing left to go on that, so that shouldn't go too long. Like I said, we only have 3 legs that we need to do. We should be into punching the holes relatively quickly and also drawing down the rivet size. So the Butler and I don't really do a lot of really exciting stuff for the actual New Year's, like, the ball drop or, anything like that. Normally we just stay up till about midnight. We say Happy New Year and then we go to bed. We usually play video games until midnight. So do any of you guys have any good, cool traditions or parties to go to tonight? Anybody in New York watching the ball drop or anything like that? Parties to get to? We're not really big holiday people, It's just not the same, when you don't have kids for some of the bigger holidays like Halloween and Christmas, when you don't have little kids to be all excited and wake you up at the crack of dawn, But I know we're kind of atypical. We don't have any kids in our lives, but a lot of people do. So, Or anybody got any good, New Year's resolutions? I think my New Year's resolution this year is to get to 6 blacksmithing events and take you guys with me. And that's going to be pretty exciting, and it's also going to be a little bit scary because a couple of those I already know I'm going to have to go to alone. So normally when I go to an event, I go with the butler. So, and it's not like I'm afraid to travel alone or anything. I have traveled alone. I've even flown alone. I'm not afraid of attending a blacksmithing event alone. It's just more like when the butler is there, then I don't have to worry about filming things. All I have to worry about is talking to people and kind of directing where we're going and who we're going to talk to. I don't actually have to do any, camera adjustments or, setting up tripods or making sure that the light is going to look good. I don't have to do that kind of stuff. So I'm a little bit nervous that to go to some of these events alone. But I do have, my New Year's resolution is to do it anyway, to get to at least 6 events this year. So the events that I'm planning on returning to the events we went to last year, but I also am planning on adding 3 more. So I'm looking to see which ones I want to add. There is one at Coal Iron that usually happens in December. I'm planning on seeing about going to that one. I think Oomba has an event in February that I am interested in getting to. That one might be a little challenging though, because it's in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin in winter in the van, I don't know. I need some power to be able to plug in to the shore power so that I keep my battery going so that it's nice and warm in there. And then I would also love to get to Tennessee at least once. Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee has the Metals Museum, and they have a working blacksmithing shop. I would like to get there either in the spring for their Forging on the River event or in the fall for their Repair Days event. Both of those events are amazing and so much fun. There are so many amazing artists there, and there's a lot to see, and I really want to bring you guys with me. So we'll have to see if I can make it to one of the 2 of those. I was planning on doing Repair Days last fall, but it was a little bit of a overreach for us because we had just gotten back from Quad State, and we had a health scare for my cat, and we had a couple other things happen, and I just couldn't manage to get there this year. So this last year. So this year in 2026, it's my goal to get there at least one time. So that is my New Year's resolution, Anybody else got a New Year's resolution? Let's do another sheet. Drop forge. Not bad, not bad. All right, back in the heat, and we are going to start shaping these. So I need, let me show you what I'm trying to do here. Let me grab my chalk. Normally I keep it up by the monitor, but today it was over by my chop saw. So we're going to kind of turn this guy into kind of a curved point. So we've got some nice skinny little points for legs. That's the plan. $19.20 by $10.80. What's 1920 by 1080? I mean, aside from high def. Oh, that's your New Year's resolution. Duh. High definition, hun. So not 4K? Oh, I don't have storage for 4K yet. That's true. So I actually do my recording in 2K, and it takes 100 gigabytes of space every single time I stream. A little bit more when I stream for 3 hours, and then when I do 2.5 hours, it's about 100 gigs of data between the raw stream, the wide camera, and all of the footage from the close-up cam. And I only have a 4 terabyte hard drive, although I do now also have, I believe, a 2 terabyte. So I guess I have 6 terabytes now. But if I was recording in 4K, I would be using that in like a couple of days. So I still have, let's see, I think I have 8 more like projects that I am currently editing and have stored on my hard drive. And it's starting to get a little bit tight. Only 4 terabytes, she says. Like I said, you know, when you're recording in like 2K or 4K, it takes a lot of data. A lot of data, I promise. But yeah, the other day I was worried because I actually filled my 4 terabyte hard drive, so we had to get me another one for long-term storage. Because I still have all the footage that I took from Quad State, obviously. I also have from the Missouri BAM conference and as well as the Indiana conference. So, like, I have all of that, and that's like, I don't know, 300 gigs or something. And then I also have, like, all of the different projects that I haven't posted up on YouTube yet that we're editing. Speaking of projects that we're editing, I'm currently editing 2 different projects. The first one is our Axe Drift. I'm editing that project as we speak. I'm almost done with that one. That'll be next week's video. And then I've started editing our Axe project. But our Axe is being a pain in the butt right now. And I needed an extra week. So I hope, fingers crossed, the week after next, on that Wednesday, I will be able to put the video for the Axe. If it's not the Axe, it'll probably be the hold down that we made together. Hey, Bluesy, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. I know. I do have a lot of storage. But, you know, I gotta keep some of the footage around, right? All right, let's do another heat. Oh, you know what? Never mind. Never mind. The ad break started. I'll wait until after the ad break. I will be kind. Or not kind. I will pay more attention. That's my thing. I'll pay more attention. I am going through a lot of water today, but I've also been like talking almost nonstop since we started, so I don't know. Oh, goodness gracious. So I'm starting to think I might have to chop some of the legs off, make them a little bit shorter because they're kind of long. I initially made them 3 inches long, but I think that they've grown, and I don't want my trivet to be like super tall, so we will probably end up cutting them off. A little bit shorter, a little bit gimpy. Shrimpy, smaller. But yeah. All right, so now that the ad is done, I will do another heat. Okay. There we go. That's what I want to see. Got to be a little bit careful. So we don't bend that tip out too much. I'm going to get a little bit more heat. I do need to straighten this spine out a little bit. But I have another piece that is currently hot. And that piece, I'm going to start flattening. All right, more heat on that. But we're going to turn it around so we can kind of make sure that everything is nice and even and flat. Also, seeing as they will be firing off fireworks and they remind me too much of I'm going to start drinking. How does George sing again? I drink alone. It's a way for me to deal with PTSD, so don't mind me. Well, you know, do what you need to do, you know? Do what you need to do. I mean, I don't blame you, you know? When you are in dangerous situations and those sorts of situations come up again, but are relatively, you know, benign, I don't blame you, you know. I do love that this channel always shows you can indeed put a round peg into square holes. Yes, that's true. You can put a round peg in a square hole. You just have to turn that round into a square peg. I don't know. There might be some kind of philosophical, like, you know, theory or you know, philosophical quip about that, you know, making your own, you know, luck happen or whatever. There's probably something there, but not anything that I can like really pick on right now. Yeah. Make your own luck, make your own things happen, you know? Things like that. One of my eyelids is now falling into my eye. Give me half a moment. I'm sorry. There we go. Little piece of grit or an eyelash or something. I hate when that happens. It's worse when it's in the shop though, because like my hands get filthy and so then I don't have the clean hands to get it out. Okay, let's do another heat. Forge your own path. Yes. That fits, I think, exactly. Forge your own path. Or forge your own pieces. All right, I'm going to move the camera just so I get a different view. Because, you know, variety is the spice of life. All right, I think I picked the same distance. Goodness. All right, let's do another heat. Well, have you ever seen a short about different forms you have to put inside of forms? They all fit the square hole. They do. You just have to reorient them sometimes. Even the star shape will fit in the square hole if you turn it sideways. Often, at least. All right, that's nice and rectangular. We should be good to go on that one. So now we're going to start putting that same point on this guy as well. And we're going to keep on working on the first one. Not amazingly fun. Kind of trying to keep the tongs back a little bit. Flat so that I'm not bending out. Okay. That's what I want to see. That's exactly what I want to see. So now we have a nice curve shape. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time cleaning that up, but that's pretty much what we want for all three of our legs. Let's see. So we've got 2 in the fire and we've got 1 more to make when we're done with those 2. And then from there, we're going to heat up these guys. Or maybe we'll make the rivets first. I think we might make the rivets first. We're going to take this guy and we're probably going to take about this much of the bar and round it out, make it a little bit skinnier. And we'll probably end up comparing it. I don't think that I'm going to go for a specific size. I think I'm just going to eyeball it, but we're going to take all the corners off. We're going to draw it out a little bit, and this is going to be the rivet that we use for our trivet. A trivet with a rivet. It's like I was a poet and didn't know it, or maybe I did know it, you know? So basically, we're going to have two of these guys that are riveted together, but we're going to put one of the legs in between each of the rivets, and then these guys are going to get bent into a nice smooth curve, and it's going to turn them all into a triangle. So it's going to be like so, but curved. So that is the design that I have in mind for this trivet. So I'm pretty excited. I've never made a trivet before. Hopefully it'll function as a trivet because, you know, I'm also not sure I've ever used one. So I don't know that, you know, how much space I need between the table and the pot, or, you know, whatever it is that you're putting on the trivet. So we shall see how well this goes for us. Equilateral or isosceles. So these should be equilateral, or at least they're not exactly equilateral, but they're pretty darn close. If you take a look at how big they all are together. I'm trying to make it so that, you know, there's less of an optical illusion. But yeah, they're about the same length, so it should be relatively equilateral. However, each of these guys are going to be bent and curved into like a half circle or maybe a quarter circle. And that way we'll be able to rivet them together. That always pops into my head when someone says triangle. Yeah. Well, an isosceles triangle has two equal sides, right? And one longer or shorter, and sometimes the same length too. I mean, because a isosceles triangle does not exclude an equilateral triangle, but there are some isosceles triangles that are not equilateral. Because math. At least I think that's the case. I mean, I feel like that sounds really smart, but maybe it's wrong, because I swear it's been like 15 years since I've done trigonometry, so I could be wrong. So this is where I need Sandwich to kind of remind me, you know, what isosceles is. But I'm pretty sure it's two equal sides, and, you know, equilateral, a triangle is equal sides, like all three sides are equal. And then, you know, there's a right triangle where there is a right angle in the triangle. And with a right triangle, usually we have one side or one angle that is 30 degrees, one angle that's 60 degrees, and one angle that is 90 degrees to make 180 degrees. Or maybe I'm doing a little bit too much math. Geometric accuracy, awesome. I'm glad. I'm glad that I remembered something. The thing that I'm reminded of when it comes to triangles is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, you know? When you're trying to get the length of the sides of a right triangle. Got a little bit of a curve in here, and I want to take that out, make sure everything's nice and straight. flat and ready to go. So, okay, we're going to turn this around. I'm pretty happy with the point on this guy. You know, it's pretty good. I don't want it to be too sharp because I don't want it to scratch a table. So now I'm just going to clean up this edge here, like these sides, to make sure that that curve gets taken out and it's ready to be riveted in there. And then we are going to start the point on the second leg. Take us a couple heats. We've got a pretty blunt foot there, so I want to fix that. Couple more heats and it should be good to go. And then we'll start on our third leg. Blacksmithing with geometry. See, the thing is, being a blacksmith is part math person, or like part engineering. We'll just say that, part engineering. Because you kind of got to figure out how your pieces go together for your more complex pieces, right? So if you got multiple like things that you need to forge together, you got to be able to make sure that they're the same size, or you know, they're going to fit together. I aim for geographic accuracy. I be calculus entropy. The hammer is my ruler, right? I mean, I do use a tape measure, and I have been known to use triangles and protractors even in my work, you know? Because I do a lot of furniture, or I did do a lot of furniture, and you know, you got to make sure that if you're making a table or a chair, that it sits on all four of its legs and it doesn't go wobble wobble, you know? Got to make sure everything's nice and level, and that requires a little bit of math. So I'm not a big fan of math with numbers, but I will do math if it means that I get to blacksmith. That's why you build things with 3 legs. F this 4-leg business, right? All you need is 3 legs, you know? 4 legs, that's just too many. You go wobble wobble, but you got 3 legs, it'll sit just about anywhere. Protractors, now things are getting serious. Yeah. I had to use a protractor when I built this forge, guys. I had to use a protractor. I had to make sure that I cut all of those bricks at a 60-degree angle, and then I had to build myself a wooden, like, what am I trying to say? A jig, so that I could use my chop saw to cut the angles that I needed for that. Next, we'd be bringing out the slide rule. I don't know about slide rules. You know, I got this thing. You know, I can do pretty good calculus with a, you know, a phone or a graphing calculator. You know, you got Google to help you out, or you know, you got your graphing calculator. You know, what is it? A T3i, Texas Instruments graphing calculator. That's what I used to have at school. I'm protractor, especially John Deere. I don't think Bluesy is pro John Deere, but you know, Bluesy is totally protractor. I chose a career in field specifically as a way to avoid ever running into a slide rule. That makes sense. I had a TI-83. Ooh. Some days I take my boots off to count. You got 10 fingers, at least probably you got 10 fingers, and you probably got 10 toes, right? At least you can count to 20. You can do math up to 20. See, that's always a problem with multiplication, right? I only have so many fingers and toes. Safety standards are handy that way, right? Then you have 8. Hey, Bubba. Welcome to the stream. Crops are green. Tractors are orange. What brand tractor do you use? Do you use like, is it Cat tractors? Are they the orange ones? I think it was the Babylonians who used base 8 math. Base 8 math, ugh. Base 10 is bad enough sometimes. Kubota. Interesting. XX Lenka, thank you so much for that follow. I'm going to assume that you're Lenka, so that's probably what I'll call you, because, you know, every time people put, or not every time, but oftentimes when people put X's in front or behind their name, they're blanks. So welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. Thank you so much for that follow. I hope you're having a good time here. I know I am. Kubota. Yep. I don't think I've actually heard of a Kubota tractor. I assume it's a tractor because I just asked what brand tractor. Yeah, I know of Caterpillar and a Cat, and then I also know of like John Deere, but I'm very indoctrinated by John Deere is the best tractor because you know, I lived in Moline, Illinois when I grew up, and that's the International John Deere headquarters. We have Kubota 4x4s at work. Oh, okay, so that is some kind of a tractor. I can figure things out with context. All right, let's do another heat. Oops, I hit the wrong inset. We'll go with that inset. That way you guys can see the whole anvil. We're going to continue to put the foot on this leg. Something to that effect. Kind of try to make it as straight as possible. All right. I'm going to put this back in the forge because there's a little bit of finessing that I'm going to have to do to this guy, and I want to compare it to the other one that's in the forge, but that should be the last heat on the other leg. So we'll see if I can make this function the way I think it should. Oh, come on. Okay. All right. Not bad, not bad. That's probably where we want this leg to be. So we're going to stick this guy over here on the edge because I want to compare the other side. And we're going to put this guy in the heat. All right. We can probably actually cool this off in the quench bucket. So I'm going to do that so I can pick things up. want to use this as my guide for the other like legs, and to see how well it's gonna look, how tall this trivet's gonna be. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it all together like so, and rivet the 3 of them together like that. We got a rivet that goes in there, and then this goes foldy like so. Not bad. I think it's still a little bit too long. I think I want to cut it in half. You know, cut it right down there. That way, it's not quite that tall. This is a pretty tall trivet, you know? It's pretty tall. So we do have an ad break starting in about 3.5 minutes. Man, we've already been here for an hour. That's crazy. Goodness gracious, time is flying today. But yeah, so the plan is to punch these holes, but I don't know. I haven't decided. Maybe we'll drill the holes. That way we have plenty of time on Friday to shape everything and rivet them all together. Because we're already an hour into the stream and I haven't even started punching these holes. We'll see. We'll see. So ordinarily, I would try to beat the ads with a heat, you know, make sure that I get the heat done before the ad starts. But the leg that I just put in is still pretty cold. So I think I'm going to wait until the ad is over, and then I will finish I'll start working on our third leg, and we'll finesse our second leg. I have to decide, guys. Do I want the little point, or I guess the curve, to go inside, or do I want it to go outside? If it goes outside, then I don't know. I haven't decided. If I put these like that, and then like that, set these up nice. I can kind of try and see what these will look like if I want them. They're definitely too long. Definitely too long. Once this ad break's over, I'll actually take the close-up camera over here and I'll show you what I've kind of set up a little bit. And then you guys can also see that the legs are way too long. So I need them to be able to fold in without going over top of each other or laying on top of each other. Because, you know, otherwise I'll get like a weird tower of legs, and I want the legs to sit flat. So if you have the legs folded in, I want you to still be able to set a pot on top. So yeah, it's gonna work out for me. It's just taking a little bit of extra finesse, I think. Like I said, I want to cut the legs in half, make them a little bit shorter. I started with 3 inches because I wanted to make sure that I had enough material to grab them without like having to worry about dropping the pieces or not having enough material to hold with the tongs. Ooh, I just came up with another issue, with another, like, yeah, I don't think that would work right. I had another idea, like I had a weird thought, but I think that's a bad thought. I don't think that it's something that I want to do. I will share a little bit more when the ad break ends. Yep. Okay, so thinking, planning, we're gonna make this happen. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. Alrighty, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the close-up camera off of the tripod. And then I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing. I think I need to do... Let me make sure that it's not, or that I'm not sitting here adjusting the... All right, so this is what I've got sitting here on the anvil. And while I got this here, I'm going to move it. Just because I just had it in my hand already, I might as well move it, right? You know what? I think I forgot to like actually hit record when I did that, but that's all right. I think it'll be okay. All right. So you guys kind of saw a little bit of like what I have set up. And that's kind of the design and how it's going to look, right? It's got that nice triangle and then it's got the legs and they kind of fold in, right? But the legs folded in too far. So, you know, the center is like right about here, but the leg was, and that was probably about here. So what I want to do is I want to chop these off. I did have a thought during the ad break that if I put the hole in and put the rivet in the center, then I'd have like double legs, right? So then I could like have it kind of sit in like that and we can have a higher pot. But I don't think I like that idea. I think we're just going to chop off the excess material and make them a little bit shorter. So I think that's what we're going to do. Brainstorming, guys, brainstorming. Okay, next heat. To make sure that I got this right. Probably not the best angle, so I will probably change that angle relatively quickly. Oh, you know what? I totally need this guy so I can kind of compare the two. So this is a little bit lumpy. Not too bad. All right, that should be pretty good. They compare relatively well. I think I do want to do a little tiny bit because there's a little bit of a protrusion on this side of this one. So I'm going to flatten this out just a hair in our next heat with that guy. And then we're going to start with this one. All right, turn this guy around. Work on the other side. I guess that wasn't quite as bad of an angle as I thought it was going to be, but still, we'll probably want to move that relatively quickly. We're getting really close to having our legs done, and all of our sides are already like squared off. So the next thing that we're going to have to think about is creating the holes for the rivets, or making the rivets one or the other. I think maybe I might just make the rivets just because then I will have them already made and ready to go, so that when I drift in the holes, I'll be able to drift them the correct size. So we might do that next. Turn this square bar into some rivets. I'm gonna make some good flathead round rivets that are really nice and have a really pretty head on them. Beanie Foo Snell. Welcome to the stream. Hello. Welcome to the community. Just got here. This is my first stream. What are you making? So today I am making a trivet. I have the design kind of drawn here a little bit. So it's going to be a three-sided piece. Each of the sides are going to be curved and riveted together, but between each of the sides are going to be sandwiched a little curved leg. So currently we're working on shaping the legs. So once we're done with that, we're going to start making the rivet. Like Fuzzy Snail. It's my island name on Animal Crossing New Horizons. Also cool. Oh, okay. Snail. That makes sense. I will try to remember. My original Twitch name was Raygun, which is my gamer tag for a lot of different games. I play a lot of different MMOs, so that's usually the tag, or I guess the account name. And then I have various character names here and there. Wild World, didn't mean to say New Horizons. Also cool, yeah. I love gaming. It's so much fun. But I also love blacksmithing, and that's what we're doing here today. We are blacksmithing. So this is one of the legs that I have already made. It's the first one. I have a little bit more finessing to do on our next leg, and then I have a third leg, and we're turning that from round bar to a rectangular bar, just like these guys. And like I said, we're going to turn this square bar into some round bar that we can rivet or use as rivets. We probably won't finish this project today, but we will definitely finish it on our next stream, which will be Friday. And thank you so much for that follow. Like I said, welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. We love finding new friends. So thank you for joining us. Ooh, yeah. So when I started with these legs, they were 3 inches long. And the width of my anvil is 4 inches thereabouts. Did your prize arrive yet? I'll talk to you guys a bit about that in just a second. So when I put this here, it's just longer than the width of my anvil. So I definitely need to take some of the material off of here. So we're going to cut these guys in half so our trivet isn't too tall. So, yes, Corwin, I remember. So yeah, I was unable to make it to my P.O. box today. So it may be there, it may not be there, but I won't actually be able to make it to the P.O. box until tomorrow or Friday. So I hope, fingers crossed, that we will have our box to open on stream on Friday. So like I said, I haven't made it to the P.O. box yet, but I will do my best to get it here on Friday. Unless, unforeseen reasons it's not there. Fingers crossed, right? Okay. So let's do another heat. Yeah, I really wanted to actually make this project with the rounding hammer and just use this as a test piece. But unfortunately, it wasn't there on Monday when I went. You can hear that round or that square bar ringing on the anvil. Okay. More heat for that guy. And let's work on our second leg. We are almost there with this guy. It's a little bit flat on this edge, and I want to kind of round that out just a little. So we're going to do this. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Maybe not the piece of bar dropping off the anvil, but a nice round leg is what I wanted to see. All right, so we've got 2 legs now. 1 leg, 2 leg. Ooh, that one's a little bit longer than that one. So maybe if I turn this bar around, I might be able to gain that extra length out of that chunk right there. Not that I want it longer, but I want them the same shape. So our next heat on the second leg will be our last heat on that leg. I think I'm going to put this bar in the forge so it can start heating up. That way we'll be ready to start drawing that down into a round shape. It's kind of ironic that I took a round bar and I turned it into flat bar, and now I'm taking square bar to turn into round bar, right? a little counterintuitive. Maybe if I had made a little bit better plan, I would have had some flat bar and been able to use my round bar for the rivets. I think my main issue here, though, is that steel has become relatively expensive. And so I kind of have to use the stock that I have on hand. I have a big supply of just like scrap stock. Some of it is here in this shop. I also have a shed out back, and I have an entire like large space in the shed that's just steel. So at least you can beat whatever you need into the shape you need. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Ooh, can I ask one of you guys a favor? Can one of you guys at me in our Discord and remind me to put up a poll on what type or what design for the pauldron you guys want to see? I need to put that up. I need suggestions from you guys, and once we get like 2 or 3, 5, somewhere in there, I will pick the best of them and post a poll. That way you guys can vote on which one you guys want to see. Hopefully I'll have that for you guys on Friday here on Twitch. That way you guys can vote and tell me what design you want for the armor pauldron that we're going to start making hopefully next week. I'm really bad at remembering to do things like that. But when you guys ping me, you know, there's the little notification. It's that little red dot, and I can't stand looking at the little red dot. And so then I will go and I will watch things, or I will look at stuff that you guys post. So if one of you could do that, I would be so grateful. Really want to post the poll for you. Okay. Let's see. What do we got? We got plenty of heat. We're gonna do another heat. Move that guy to that side. Did I put that on the right? Yeah, I did. Okay. All right. I think that's exactly the shape that we're looking for. Let me compare it one more time. Yes, that is exactly what I'm looking for. Good to go on that guy. So now we can put the foot, the tip, on our other tiny bar, our other leg. And as always, this is going to take a couple of heats to make that the correct shape. So let's get some more heat. Thank you so much, Mahalo. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. I also have to post about our contest, or I guess our drawing for the Ray's Smithy shirt. But I should remember that guy on my own, because the designs are sitting on my counter, like right in front of me, so I should be able to remember that on my own. Okay, so we have 2 legs now. 2 legs out of our 3-legged trivet. Super exciting. Super exciting. Five pieces down, 2 pieces to go. The rivets and the last leg. So we have a lot more holes to drill than we need to make rivets. So theoretically, we only need to make 3 rivets. So we'll probably do about this much of the bar and turn that into round bar to like little rivets that we can use. So, but making the holes in all of our components, that's what's going to take the longest. So I have to decide whether I want to drill them or if I want to punch them. I think it would look a lot cooler and it would be a lot neater to do, to show you guys, if I punched them, but I think it would take me quite a while to get all of the legs and all of the sides punched. That is 9 holes that I would have to do. And I think that having to line up 9 holes properly, I think that's probably going to be a little bit more of a challenge than I am quite prepared for, but I think it'll be a little bit more precise if I drill them. So I don't know. I'll see how, if I can speak, I'll see how I'm feeling after I get the rivets taken care of and this last leg. All right. Let's do another heat. What I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to move the camera. Man, I don't know what it is today, but I have really had some issues with my speech. Getting a little bit tongue-tied for whatever reason. There we go. Maybe I'll do, never mind. I think, well, not never mind to me. Never mind to me and not to you guys. I think I'm going to do a higher angle. That'll make it different-y. There we go. Much more better. Alrighty. Another heat. Another heat. It's starting to get nice and warm in here. I'm pretty comfy. Alright, let's make a comparison between 2 of the legs. Okay, we've got a little bit too deep of a curve, so we're going to make that a little bit more shallow. Alrighty. So, we have 2 challenges left to go with this trivet, right? Like I said, it's going to be really challenging lining up all of the holes for the rivets. Now, the other challenge is curving the sides enough so that they all fit together, like all 3 pieces fit together to be riveted. And then that is our other challenge, to make sure that we've got that curve properly curved, I guess. So we are going to be putting the holes in each of the pieces, the components, before we make those curves. And I'm thinking that it's going to make it a lot easier if we start by riveting all of the pieces together. And then once the pieces are riveted together, we can heat the whole thing up and kind of adjust it so that way the curves are in the right places and it looks appealing and pretty and nice. So I think that is the methodology to which I'm going to be abiding by. Like I said, it could be a little bit challenging, but I'm going to do the best that I can. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 3 components, 3 sides and 1 leg, and rivet them together like so, just like that, right? And then once this first rivet is in, I'm going to take the whole thing, put it in the forge, and we're going to bend out both sides. And from there, we are going to start riveting each of the other sides. It's going to be a little bit challenging, but it is something that I have done in the past, and I think it's very possible to do. I think it'll make things a little bit easier, a little bit neater if I rivet things or start the rivets while they're as flat as I can get them. And then from there, we'll kind of adjust later. Doing it that method though, there is the last rivet is going to be a rather challenging rivet, right? So we'll have to figure out the easiest way to do that. Like I said, we might end up folding things out of the way temporarily and then finessing it as a whole unit when everything is nice and riveted together. So we have an ad break starting in about a minute and a half-ish. So I will do my next heat right after that ad is done. This should be our last, second to the last heat on the last leg, and then we'll start working on our rivets. We should definitely get the rivets done today, though. We should be able to get that done. And then most of the riveting itself and the finessing will happen on Friday. At least that's my plan. So then we'll have that done on, we should have it done by the end of the stream on Friday. So we'll be able to start fresh on Monday. I think that there's a part of me that's like, it would have been nice to be able to finish a project today because it's New Year's Eve, That's starting fresh on, or tomorrow, I think that would be, I don't know, appropriate, but things aren't always as clean as you want them to be. So it's going to take me an extra day. We're going to start our Raise Smithy New Year next Monday, I think. It's that time now again where I'm running out of water, so I'm gonna have to grab some Gatorade. So I will be right back. Where is some Gatorade? I don't know. I don't think we have any cold Gatorade. Thank you so much. Gatorade. It is not cold Gatorade, but that's all right, because, you know, Gatorade's Gatorade, right? It's cold out here. All right. So once this ad is done, we will do our next heat. And yeah, should be good. We're going to start making our rivets. If we end up finishing our rivets in time, I will probably start center punching the components. That should take us a little bit of time. Okay, looks like our ad is done, I think. Pretty sure. Let's do another heat then. I guess that's an okay. Or maybe I'll do that. We'll do that. You guys should be able to see pretty well there. Okay. Let's compare some legs again. Whoops. We're comparing legs. They're pretty close. Pretty happy with that. All right. So we're going to turn this around and work on that last section right there, just flattening it out a little bit, making it a little bit longer. Also crisping up those corners. So one more heat on that leg, and then we have many more heats on our rivets. So, you know, there's always one more heat for each of our components, right? We've had a lot of one more heats with this project. So our next couple projects are pretty well set. We've got the shoulder pauldron that we're going to be doing. We have the raising hammer that we're going to try a second attempt at. Those are probably our next two projects. And we might have a few like littler projects in between those, because I try to spread out my larger projects with a couple small projects. Like this trivet is a little bit of a smaller project. But is there anything else that you guys are interested in seeing me attempt? Whether I have done that thing before or not, I am always interested in making new things. There is a few things that I'm thinking about, like smaller things. Like I think doing another like set of silverware might be interesting to do. We did the initial set of silverware quite a while ago at this point. I think that making another set and applying all of the things that we have learned so far with our, you know, our projects that we've been doing recently, I think that would be a fun project. Kind of, you know, see or check up to see how well we're doing. We could do some other tool projects. There's a couple interesting, like really technical designs for like some calipers and some higher design tongs a blacksmith knife. I could do a blacksmith knife, you know? That's a relatively short project. I could do it. I got some sucker rod that would make a pretty decent blacksmith knife. We could do something like that. And I mean, you know, it'd be like a 1 or 2 day project. I could even do everything like with, you know, like the heat treating and everything like that if you guys are interested in seeing that. I don't often do shorts, but, you know, sometimes it's good to do something, you know, brush up on your practice. Knives are relatively technical, so, you know, it might be a fun project to do. This Trivet project is pretty close to the idea I had for a tabletop fire pit stand. Yeah, so like that's really what I thought a Trivet was for when I first like looked them up. I thought it was like for taking a campfire and, you know, putting a pot on top of a campfire. But Google, their little AI stuff, said that it's more like a pot holder, like for a table. You know, it's to separate the tabletop, like a nice wood tabletop, from the pot, right? But I know, I'm positive that you could make a larger version of this and turn it into a tool for cooking at a campfire. I know you could. All right, let's do another heat. Right now we're kind of just trying to finesse this piece, making it all nice and pretty and ready to be riveted in. I'm trying really hard to like not stop when I think it's good enough and just like taking an extra heat to kind of make things pretty. So I think that's what I'm trying to do. So we've got all 3 of our legs now. All right, leg number 3. And 2 and 1. Not bad. They all look pretty darn similar to me. Pretty happy with that. And then we also have all 3 of our sides. So all of our components are complete. Yay! Super excited. All the components. So the next thing that we got to do is work on our rivets. We got to cut these guys in half, like the legs, and put holes in these. And they'll be ready to rivet together. All right, let's do our first heat on our rivets. Oh, we'll do that. Rivets, rivets. Or is it rivet, rivet? Just want to thin this bar out a little bit. It's still a little bit wide, so if I take one of our sides that we've completed and kind of compare the two, you can kind of see that it's a little bit too wide if I were to drill these holes, and I do want to do that. So I think from here, I'm pretty happy with the tip there. That comparison is pretty darn good. I want to make it a little bit smaller, but I think by taking off the corners that should be good. So I just need to lengthen that out because we need to make 3 of them, and I think I need about this much for each rivet. Because if we take all 3 appliances and stack them up like so, and then we kind of stick them together. Yeah, we're going to need at least this much of our bar. So we need plenty of material. But yeah, I am always down for a audience suggestion for a new project. I love doing challenging pieces, you know. Like I said, I've got some ideas for like some calipers, some more complex tongs. Our last set of tongs, I kind of like threw them together. They worked so beautifully for the axe. I've been working on the axe. Let me show you kind of what I'm up to with the axe. So I actually put this axe back in the forge because the handle hole, like the eye, is a little bit too short. So I've been increasing the length of it. So if I take the, where is it? Here it is. If I take my tape measure and I measure our tip to our back, we are now at 2 inches, which is a lot closer to the 2.5 inches of a standard axe eye. So I've been kind of increasing that. And so the tongs that we made, the last thing, or you know, that last thing that we made, this set of tongs that are these guys, have been amazing for this project. Look at that. Beautiful. Works so beautiful. I've got some old motorcycle chain I could send if you're considering making a different hold down. Ooh. I could always use a different hold down. I don't want to take your materials, but if you want me, if you want to see me make a hold down out of the chain, I can DM you my PO box. But I mean, like I said, I don't want to take your materials if you're going to use them for other things. But if you want to see me do stuff, and you have like a piece of scrap that you just want to see me make something out of, let me know and I'll send you my PO box. My PO box is at a post office, and what they do is if somebody sends me a package that's too big to fit in my PO box, they put a little key in my PO box, and then it goes to like a locker, and I can just take the thing, like my package, out of the locker. So it's pretty cool. Nah, I'm not using it. I'll wear out more chain before I figure out a project for it. All right. I'll send you my PO box if you're interested. Like I said, no pressure. But it could be fun, and it would definitely be useful. All right. We're going to do another heat. And then I'm going to change my view again. If I remember to, that is. I'm really bad at that sometimes. Trying to keep the sides of what's going to turn into my rivet relatively equal and straight. nice and parallel. I need to figure out what to do with my rusty motorcycle chain to make it usable for a hold down. So is it binding because it's too rusty? Because one of the really cool things that you can do with it is if you've got some white vinegar, you can kind of submerge your chain in the white vinegar. And if you do that overnight, and you can take it out, and it should unstick it a little bit because the acid, because obviously vinegar is acid, and so it's going to eat away at the oxidation and that rust, and it should allow you to kind of move or start to move it and wiggle it free. Now, the one thing I will say is that after you're done with it, you need to make sure that you clean off your chain really, really well, because after it's done eating all of the rust, it'll start creating more rust, because the acid is just, it's going to continue eating through the steel, and yeah, it will eventually re-rust your chain. But yeah, the good things that you can do, to clean up steel. Would you be considered a blacksmith? Yeah, kinda. I myself consider myself a full-time content creator, but the content that I make is all blacksmithing related. So what I'm currently doing is blacksmithing. I also have a background in silversmithing as well as goldsmithing, so I do a little bit of that here on this, or I will be doing a little bit more of that on this channel in the coming year. Right now I do a lot of blacksmithing, and I guess a lot of people would consider me a blacksmith. And, sometimes I tell people that's what I do. But really, I spend way more time editing videos and posting on YouTube than I do ever blacksmithing. So, be that as it may, I try to be a blacksmith. I contemplated the vinegar, but was not sure how to treat it afterward. Thought about dunking it in my oil quench tank. I don't know that I would use an oil quench tank, because all of that oxidation is going to you'll eventually get it to move, but any flaking of the rust is going to start accumulating at the bottom of your tank. And, if that's going to be an issue, you probably don't want to do that. Eva Pro Rust is pretty cheap. That's the commercial alternative of vinegar. Yes. Like I said, you do want to rinse off your chain relatively well. You can also neutralize it by using a little bit of baking soda. Just get yourself a jug of water and put some baking soda in there, because baking soda is a base. So you neutralize your acid with the base. Just be be very careful not to mix ammonia with bleach. That it doesn't sound like you should be doing that, with the vinegar and the baking soda, but stranger things have happened. But yeah, neutralize your chain if you can. Otherwise, just rinse it very thoroughly and dry it as well as you can, because the water will also rust it. It's kind of like anything you do to unstick your chain has the potential, if you do it over, or if you go over that area, to make it rusty again. That's probably a little bit jumbled, but yeah, I'm sorry. I'll try to come up with a better way to say that. So it's kind of like any good thing can be overdone, right? So you submerge your chain in the rust. If you submerge it too long, it's going to re-rust. You know, you get your chain wet, it's going to re-rust. But if you dry it off well enough, you know, rinse it and dry it off, it'll be fine. You'll be able to use it again and re-oil it. Let's do another heat before I talk in circles again. All right, back in the heat. So when I was in college, I went to college for silversmithing. And I also did a little bit of sculpture, which was more of a metal fabrication kind of program. Anyway, my silversmithing instruction. Can you shout out my friend Lee Dalton? He loves your stream. Hello, Lee. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. But yeah, I had a metals, like a silversmithing instructor, and she didn't like to be called a silversmith, right? She preferred to be called a metalsmith. And I really think that's because she worked with multiple different metals. It wasn't just silver. You know, she worked with some steel, some copper, some brass, some bronze, you know, a lot of silver, obviously, using the similar techniques. But I kind of feel like maybe that's what I am, because I do a lot of jewelry, a lot of, you know, sheet or working with sheet. I do blacksmithing. You know, so I silver, gold, and blacksmith. So maybe I'm just a metalsmith. That's probably the right word for what I actually am. But yeah. Goodness gracious. I am starting to get a little bit tired. But that's all right. We've got about a half an hour left in our stream, and I intend to use that time. So let's do another heat. All right, I think that's a pretty good diameter for our rivets. So the next thing that I'm going to do is start pulling the corners off of this guy. So we're going to heat this up again and, yeah, take the corners off. It's not that much skinnier than its regular size, but it's skinny enough that we're going to get a pretty decent size for our rivet. What are you making? I am making a trivet. So from my understanding, a trivet it's kind of like a pot holder, right? So it is a piece of metal or clay or, you know, something that sits between a pot, like the bottom of a hot pot, and the table that it sits on. So we have 6 components that are going to make up our trivet. These are 3 sides. So these sides are going to be curved. This is kind of our design. So we've got the sides, which are going to be curved, and then we have our little legs, which are kind of knife-shaped a little bit. So 3 pieces are going to be riveted together. These legs are going to fold inside and fold out so that you can decide how high you want your trivet. So we just finished the sides and the legs. So now we're making the rivets, and we're going to need to drill all of the holes. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to drill all the holes. We've got 6 in these and another 3 in these, so that's 9 holes. So we're going to, what you building? I am making a trivet. And so yeah, we're going to curve these guys, but we're going to take, what is a trivet? Yeah. So a trivet, from what I understand, is kind of like a pot holder, right? To rivet, a fine trivet, yes. We're going to rivet our trivet. So we're taking these 3 pieces, the components, and we're going to rivet them together, like so. And then we have little legs that are going to fold out, and it's going to sit down on the table, and it's going to create a barrier between the table and the bottom of a pot. Ah, like from Fortnite. Maybe. I haven't played Fortnite. I play a lot of MMOs, but I don't play a lot of first-person shooters. So yeah, we are making a trivet. It's kind of a basic blacksmithing project that can be as simplistic or as complex as you want to make it. So I've kind of picked something a little bit in the middle. It's a little bit more complicated than just a scroll. It's a little less complicated than something with like many, many components. It's actually a third-person shooter. See, I could do a third person a little bit better than I could do first person. I'm always like, I always get confused when I'm in first person, whether I am inverted sticks or regular sticks. And it's just, I get really confused. So I don't do first person well. Are we able to buy this trivet? As of right now, I don't have a way for people to, or I don't sell my projects. But maybe sometime in the future, I might start selling some of them. I bid too. So yeah, we currently have an ad going, and once that ad is done, we will do another heat. But yeah. And I will also thank ACV60 or 80 for that follow. No, that's 60. I think that, let me look. Yeah. 20 Twitch tokens. I don't know what a Twitch token is. I do a lot of streaming over Twitch, but I really don't know much about how it works. I watch, but I don't have a lot of like knowledge about like the user side of things, I think. I just paid for it watching 2 minutes of ads. Something like that. All right. So we're back from ads. ACB60, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. So yeah, I don't sell. Hey Jack, I don't really sell my pieces right now. There might be some time in the future where I do sell some of the pieces that I make here on stream, or that I take commissions that I will in turn build here on stream. But right now I am not in a position to be able to do that, mostly because I just don't have a good time frame. Things take me a lot longer than they should, and so the rate would be outrageous for the little things that I'm making right now. Normally I charge about $30 an hour, and when I was a full-time blacksmith, and I spend about 2.5 to 3 hours yammering on stream while I'm building this stuff. So there really isn't a good way to price my work. Right now I have 5 hours worth of time in this particular trivet, and I just don't think that it is quite worth $150. So, you know, yet, maybe. Did you say MMOs? I'm hooked on Guild Wars 1 right now. See, I wanted to try out the remake. I have not tried out the remake. I do play Guild Wars 2 on occasion, but it's kind of my back burner MMO because you don't have to pay a sub for it. So I do flip around different MMOs that do have subs. So I just finished up on WoW for the moment, at least until midnight comes out. And now I'm currently playing ESO, which is I've been playing that game for about 10 years now, and it's kind of getting a little bit boring, but you know, I still like it. And before that, I was playing SWTOR, Star Wars The Old Republic, and I also have played Final Fantasy XIV. What the Sigma? I'm kind of old. I'm not so hip with the Gen Z. Is it Gen Z or is it Gen Alpha slang? All right, let's do another heat while I'm talking. Oops, I want to do this one. I'm really impressed with your sound setup, by the way. The levels are perfect. Awesome. I'm glad, because I am oftentimes very scuffy with my sound. So it's good to hear that it's doing well today. So I am currently taking the corners off of what I'm going to turn into a rivet. So we're taking this square bar and we're going to be turning it into a round bar. The first thing that we do is turn our 4 sides into 8 sides. And then we start taking off all of the facets that we've made. I'm going to heat this bar up one more time. We're going to take off those facets. I'm still not hip with the millennial slang. Yeah, I don't know. I grew up as a millennial, so like I'm pretty good with the millennial slang, but it's been a while since I've worked with kids, you know? So I don't understand a lot of the slang. Some of them I do, you know, I understand. Like I recently learned something about 6'7" is a meme. But I mean, I feel like I'm some kind of old person being like 6'7", and then, you know, because I'm old, right? I don't get it. That's Gen Z or Alpha, something like that. And John Fee, I totally missed a lot of spots. That was my first pass trying to make that square bar into a round bar. So there's a lot of little facets and corners that I need to take off of that. I want to turn that square into a round. So it's got to be nice and smooth. So it's going to take me a couple heats. No one gets that, not even the people who say it. I actually did watch at least one of the things that 6-7 comes from, but I don't think that I find it as funny as some people, as you guys do. What is 6-7? From my understanding, it's in a song. And then someone else said it in like some meme, like a video. And it's kind of, yeah. If you spell out 6-7, it explains it. Okay. I don't know. I don't think I get it from the spelling either. All right, let's do another heat. I'm not the best at spelling either, So I'm a blacksmith and not a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher at one point. So I am spinning the piece as I hammer down really lightly. I'm not trying to forge it or change the diameter, but I am trying to take any little sharp bits off of this. I think I'm going to take another heat before I'm finished with this, but I'm pretty happy with it. And those are going to be turned into rivets. I got to cut it, that little round bar that I've created, into thirds. So that way I can rivet all of the corners together. It's going to be a 3-sided piece with 3 rivets and 3 components held together by the rivet. So I'm going to do another, like I said, I'm going to do one more heat on this guy. And once that heat's over, I will kind of figure out how everything is going to sit together. So I'll set it up on the face of the anvil. And then after that, I will probably braid off to another streamer. We've been going for quite a while, so I'm getting a little bit tired. Hey, Yankee, welcome to the stream. But yeah, I am an old, so I don't understand a lot of the memes. I try to understand them at least liminally enough that I'm not lost when I scroll through my TikTok feed. Because yeah. Ram420, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. So, it is New Year's Eve, and the next time I stream will be Friday, which is the 2nd. So, I won't see you guys until next year, I guess, At least, if that's, the funny, or if that's your type of funny, I guess. No. Yeah. But yeah, we will be finishing this trivet on Friday, and then on Monday, I hope we will be starting our shoulder piece of armor, our pauldron. God, I'm not here Friday. I'm in Ohio for the end of Christmas. Wait, the 2nd is tomorrow for me. Yeah, you're already in the future, Lexi. So yeah, I will be finishing on Friday. And then, like I said, Monday I will be starting a pauldron. And if you guys would like to weigh in on what design for that pauldron will be, check out my Discord. The link is in the on the channel page, and I will be posting a poll to see, if you guys want to see anything specific. We can do anime, we can do cartoons, we can do video games, or historical replication. But yeah, we are going to make a piece of shoulder armor. Anime, sick. I like anime. I watch a lot. Not as many as some people, but a decent amount. What's my favorite anime? My favorite anime of all time is probably Cowboy Bebop. My favorite one of this season was probably May I Ask for One Last Thing. Because I thought the main character was really fun. Cowboy Bebop, yes. It's such a great classic anime. It's one of the greats. My guilty pleasure is an anime called Rosario Vampire. It's like a big Mo anime. It's pretty fun, though. Attack on Titan. I've only watched a couple seasons of that one. I'm a bit behind on Attack on Titan. All right, let's do my last heat. So we're going to continue to round this out. There's a couple lumps and bumps that I want to address. We're straightening and flattening everything. All right, and that's pretty round. All right, put that guy right there. I try to keep the stream a little bit on the PG, I want people of all ages to be able to come in here and, enjoy the stream. So I'm probably not going to read that bit of the conversation right now. All right. So right now what I am doing is I'm kind of, I'm going to put that over there. I'm trying to kind of lay out the piece so I can kind of see how it's going to come together and if I have enough rivet. So this is going to come together like so. And then each of the legs, of course that would happen, like so. And they are too long, so I'm definitely going to need to cut off that extra length. So we've kind of got a Triforce going on here right now. All right. So the layout's pretty good. I have all of the pieces. Now let's see. I gotta see if I've got enough rivet. Oh. All right. Take this piece, kind of lay it over there, and it looks like I have about double the length that I need. That is the width of here, and so that is exactly how much rivet I need. So I'm pretty excited about that. Thank you, Mahalo. I think I missed some of that chat, but I trust it. I trust your decision. So thank you. So yeah, we have all of our components ready to go. We are going to be chopping out the. Was it? Thank you. Thank you for modding for me. All right. I think that's actually the first time you guys have really had to mod. Oh, they were talking about what that is. Okay. Thank you, Mahalo. So yeah, we have all of our components ready. We need to cut our rivets into thirds so that we can rivet all the components together. So we will be doing that on Friday. This is the part of winter vacations that parents dread. Well, I want kids to be able to come and enjoy the stream, but I also want, I don't want them running rampant and being rambunctious, you know, yeah. So I would like people to be able to, you know, relax here and not have to worry about craziness. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm probably going to raid off. So thank you so much for watching and for your support. Have a lovely rest of your day. Happy New Year, and I will see you on Friday. I was like, yeah, I'm not touching that with your keyboard even. Like I said, I was laying out the stuff, so unfortunately I didn't catch what was going on, but thank you so much for modding. All right, outro we go. Happy New Year, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I think we are going to raid Miramac Mud. Oh, Valencia is also on. Do you guys want to see Valencia or Miramac? Do you guys have an opinion? Glass or clay? All right. I think I'm going to go Miramac. Have a wonderful rest of your year and Happy New Year. Bye, guys.